All right, so we're diving deep today into how to prepare for a housing support worker interview. We've got some great resources from RoleCatcher to help us out here.
Definitely. And it's exciting to see how much tech can play a part in the process now, too. But even before we get to the tech side of things, I think it's important to step back for a second and really make sure we understand what a housing support worker actually does. It's a lot more than just finding people a place to live.
Yeah, for sure. So let's break that down a little bit. What are some of those less obvious parts of the job?
Well, you're kind of wearing a bunch of different hats. You're an advocate for your clients. You're a counselor giving guidance. Sometimes you're even connecting them with other resources they need. And yeah, sometimes you're just there to give them a bit of encouragement and be a cheerleader.
Well, it's a pretty wide range of things you're doing. So thinking about those skills then, let's jump into some of the questions you might get asked in an interview. RoleCatcher's Guide mentions that almost every interview will ask about your experience working with vulnerable populations.
Oh, yeah, that one's almost guaranteed to come up. And it's a great opportunity to really stand out. Instead of just listing off your past jobs or volunteer roles, try to bring those experiences to life a little bit. Give some specific examples. Like, did you ever help an elderly client figure out how to fill out a complicated housing application? Or maybe you supported a young person who was transitioning out of foster care. Stories like that make a much bigger impact.
Right, so it's all about painting a picture with those anecdotes. What are some details that you'd recommend including to really impress the interviewers?
Well, talk about the challenges you faced in those situations
Hmm.
and how you were able to overcome them. Like maybe you had to really advocate for a client to get access to a specific service, or you had to get creative and think outside the box to find a housing solution. Those details really show that you're a problem solver and that you're dedicated to helping your clients.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What about when they dig a little deeper? Like, let's say they ask you to describe a time you faced a difficult situation with a client and how you handled it.
Hmm. Well, in those kinds of questions, it's important to be honest, but also stay calm and professional. Conflict is going to happen sometimes. It's just the nature of the work. And they want to know that you can handle the pressure and still find a solution.
So, should you come to the interview with a specific example already in mind?
Absolutely. Choose a situation that really tested your conflict resolution skills. Like maybe a client was frustrated with how long an application was taking, or there was a misunderstanding about some of the rules of their housing. And then explain the steps you took to de-escalate the situation. Did you use active listening techniques? Did you need to bring in a supervisor to help?
So, it's about showing them that you can set boundaries and stay professional even when things get tough. Now, RoleCatcher also mentions the importance of being able to manage your caseload, which I imagine could get pretty overwhelming at times. What are some strategies that you can highlight to show them you're organized and efficient?
Yeah, housing support workers are often juggling a lot of cases, each with their own unique needs. So you definitely need a good system in place to keep track of everything. Think about what tools you use to stay on top of it all. Do you have a specific calendar system you use? Do you color code your files? Maybe you have a system for tracking deadlines and when you need to follow up with people. Sharing those specifics really shows that you're organized and on top of things.
Right, like you have a plan in place to make sure nothing falls through the cracks. Now, before we go any further, I want to touch on how RoleCatcher's AI can help with all of this.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what technology can do these days. It's almost like having a virtual interview coach in your pocket. Their AI can analyze your answers and give you feedback, and it
Hmm.
can even suggest improvements that are specific to the job you're applying for.
Wow, that's really cool. Okay, let's get back to the interview questions for now. RoleCatcher also points out that you should be prepared to answer a question about staying up to date on housing policies and regulations.
Right, because all those laws and programs are constantly changing. Interviewers want to know that you're committed to keeping up with everything, so you can be a reliable source of information for your clients and help them navigate all the complexities.
So how can you demonstrate that commitment during the interview?
Well, you can highlight the resources that you use to stay informed. Do you subscribe to any professional journals? Do you attend webinars or conferences? Have you taken any recent courses on things like fair housing practices or tenant rights? Show them that you're proactive about learning and staying up to date.
Okay, so it's all about showing them that you're committed to professional development. What about situations where you need to advocate for a client? RoleCatcher says that's another common question you might get.
Ah, yes, this is where you really get to show them how far you're willing to go to help your clients. Think of a time when you had to really fight for someone's needs. Maybe you negotiated with a landlord on their behalf or helped them connect with legal aid services.
What kind of details would really bring that experience to life for the interviewer?
Well, you want to focus on the steps that you took, the obstacles that you faced, and ultimately the outcome of your efforts. Did you have to gather documentation or contact multiple agencies? Did you have to challenge a bureaucratic decision? And most importantly, what impact did your advocacy have on your client's life? Did you help them secure stable housing? Did you help them access essential resources? Did you help them overcome a significant obstacle? Those details are what really demonstrate your effectiveness as an advocate.
Yeah, you're showing them that you're not just going through the motions. You're really passionate about making a difference in people's lives. RoleCatcher's Guide also mentions the importance of teamwork.
Oh, absolutely. Housing support workers are rarely working in isolation. You're almost always collaborating with other professionals, like social workers, healthcare providers, therapists, or community organizations. So you need to be able to work effectively as part of a team.
So if they ask you a question about teamwork, what's a good example to share?
Well, think about a time you were part of a team that was working on a complex case. Maybe you were coordinating services for a family that was facing multiple challenges. Or maybe you were navigating a situation that involved working with multiple different agencies. Share how you contributed to the team's success and highlight your communication and collaboration skills.
And I imagine it's important to be prepared to talk about any challenges that came up during that teamwork experience.
Definitely. Interviewers will often ask about conflicts or disagreements that arose. Just be honest about those challenges and explain how you dealt with them professionally. Did you make sure to listen to different perspectives? Did you try to find a compromise? Did you always focus on finding a solution that was in the best interest of the client?
So you're showing them that you can handle interpersonal dynamics and resolve conflict effectively. Now, this next question from RoleCatcher's Guide is a bit trickier. Can you describe a time when you had to make a difficult ethical decision?
Ah, yes, that one can be tough. They're trying to get a sense of your values and your judgment. Because sometimes as a housing support worker, you'll find yourself in situations where there's no easy answer. You'll have to weigh competing interests and make tough calls.
So how do you choose an example to share for a question like that?
Choose a situation that genuinely challenged you ethically. Maybe you had to balance a client's confidentiality with their safety. Or maybe you had to make a decision that went against a client's wishes. But you knew it was ultimately in their best interests.
And how do you explain that decision-making process in a way that demonstrates your ethical reasoning?
Well, be transparent about all the factors that you considered. Did you consult with a supervisor? Did you refer to a professional code of ethics? Did you think about the potential consequences of each option? Really walk them through your thought process and emphasize that you're committed to ethical principles.
It's not about finding the right answer. It's about showing them that you can handle those difficult decisions thoughtfully and responsibly. Okay, one more question from RoleCatcher's Guide before we wrap up this section. They say that interviewers often ask about adaptability.
Yeah, and that's a big one in this field because things can change so quickly.
So how can you demonstrate your flexibility during an interview?
Share an example of a time when you had to adjust to unexpected circumstances or shifting priorities, like maybe a client's housing placement fell through at the last minute, or a funding source suddenly dried up. Explain how you responded to the change. Were you able to come up with a plan B quickly? Did you stay calm under pressure?
So it's all about showing your problem-solving skills in action.
Exactly. Did you have to think creatively to find a solution? Did you communicate effectively with everyone involved? Did you take initiative and find new resources or adjust your approach?
That's great. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
And I think we've given our listeners a really solid foundation for tackling those tough interview questions. But before we move on to the next part of our deep dive, I want to circle back to RoleCatcher's AI for a minute.
Yeah, let's talk more about how that can help.
It seems like such a valuable tool for fine-tuning your answers.
It really is. It's like having a personalized feedback system that can analyze your responses, identify areas where you can improve, and even provide suggestions that are tailored to the specific job you're going for.
Like it can tell you how to better highlight your skills or use language that's specific to the role.
Exactly. It can help you make sure you're really hitting all the key points.
That's amazing. And speaking of valuable tools, RoleCatcher also offers a lot more than just interview prep.
Oh yeah, they have a ton of resources on career paths and development opportunities in the housing support field.
So let's talk about some of those possibilities. What are some potential career paths that someone could take if they land this job and decide they love it?
Well, there are a lot of different directions you could go. You could become a team leader and supervise other support workers. You could move into a management position and oversee programs or services, or you could specialize in a particular area, like working with homeless youth or veterans.
And what about professional development? Are there any certifications or specialized training programs that could help someone advance their career in this field?
Absolutely. Things like crisis intervention training, mental health first aid, or certifications in specialized areas like geriatric care or substance abuse counseling are all great options. Those extra qualifications can open up new opportunities, and they also show potential employers that you're committed to continuous learning.
So it's about thinking long-term and exploring different ways to build a fulfilling and impactful career in this field. Now, before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, I want to touch on something that really stood out to me in RoleCatcher's Career Guide. They talk about the importance of understanding the unique needs of different populations.
Yeah, that's absolutely crucial. As a housing support worker, you'll be interacting with a wide range of individuals, each facing their own unique challenges and requiring different types of support. Working with a senior citizen who's facing eviction is going to be very different from supporting a young person who's transitioning out of foster care.
So how can someone who's preparing for an interview demonstrate that they understand those diverse needs?
Well, think about the specific populations that you're most passionate about working with and reflect on the challenges that they face. What specialized knowledge or skills would you need to be effective in those roles? What are some culturally sensitive approaches that you might consider? Showing that awareness during an interview demonstrates a genuine commitment to providing client-centered care.
Right, it's about going beyond the general interview prep and really thinking about how to tailor your approach to the specific populations you'll be serving.
Exactly. And when you have that genuine passion for serving those diverse needs, it will really shine through during your interview.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here today. We've explored common interview questions, strategies for giving strong answers, and even how RoleCatcher's AI can help you prepare. But we're not done yet. There's still more to come. So stay tuned for the next part of our deep dive. We will be talking about even more tips and tricks for acing that housing support worker interview.
That's going to be good.
I'm excited.
Me too.
Awesome. We'll see you back here soon.
Sounds good. And remember, it's about highlighting the impact you made on that client's life. Did you help them secure stable housing, access essential resources, or overcome a significant obstacle? Those details demonstrate your effectiveness as an advocate.
Yeah, it's all about showcasing that passion for making a real difference. RoleCatcher's Guide also mentions a question about teamwork, which makes sense considering housing support workers often collaborate with other professionals. What are some tips for effectively answering a question about teamwork?
You'll want to highlight your experience working collaboratively with others like social workers, healthcare providers, therapists, or community organizations. Interviewers want to see that you can communicate effectively, build relationships, and contribute to a shared goal.
So what's a good example to share?
Well, think about a time you were part of a team working on a complex case. Did you coordinate services for a family facing multiple challenges? Did you navigate a situation involving multiple agencies? Share how you contributed to the team's success, emphasizing your communication and collaboration skills.
And it's important to be prepared to discuss any challenges that arose during that teamwork experience, right?
Absolutely. Interviewers might ask about conflicts or disagreements that came up. Be honest about those challenges and explain how you handled them professionally. Did you actively listen to different perspectives? Did you seek compromise? Did you focus on finding solutions that benefited the client?
So it's about showcasing those conflict resolution skills and demonstrating that you can navigate interpersonal dynamics effectively. Now, RoleCatcher's Guide also mentions a question that can be a bit trickier. Can you describe a time when you had to make a difficult ethical decision? What are some things to keep in mind when answering a question about ethical dilemmas?
That's a good one. This question explores your values and judgment. Housing support workers sometimes face situations with no easy answers, where you need to weigh competing interests and make tough calls. Choose an example that genuinely challenged you ethically. Maybe you had to balance a client's confidentiality with their safety, or you had to make a decision that went against a client's wishes but was in their best interests.
So how do you explain that decision-making process in a way that demonstrates your ethical reasoning?
Okay, well, be transparent about the factors you considered. Did you consult with a supervisor or refer to a professional code of ethics? Did you think about the potential consequences of different courses of action? Walk the interviewer through your thought process, emphasizing your commitment to ethical principles.
And remember, there may not be a single right answer in these situations. It's about showcasing your ability to make those tough calls thoughtfully and responsibly. Now, RoleCatcher's Guide also highlights the importance of being adaptable, especially given how quickly things can change in this field. What are some ways to demonstrate your flexibility during an interview?
Well, share an example of a time when you had to adjust to unexpected circumstances or shifting priorities. Maybe a client's housing placement fell through at the last minute, or a funding source suddenly dried up. Explain how you responded to the change. Did you quickly develop a plan B? Did you remain calm under pressure?
And it's about showcasing your problem-solving skills in those situations, right?
Exactly. Did you think creatively to find alternative solutions? Did you communicate effectively with everyone involved? Did you demonstrate initiative in finding resources or adapting your approach?
So those are some really great insights into how to handle those tough interview questions. Now, before we wrap up, I want to circle back to RoleCatcher's AI and how it can help fine-tune those answers.
Oh, yeah. It's like having a personalized feedback system. Their AI can analyze your responses, identify areas for improvement, and even provide suggestions tailored to the specific job you're targeting. Imagine getting insights on how to better highlight your skills or tailor your language to the specific requirements of the role.
That's such a valuable tool. And speaking of valuable tools, RoleCatcher also offers a wealth of career insights,
Yeah.
going beyond just the interview prep.
Right. They have resources that delve into career paths and development opportunities within the field of housing support. So let's talk about some of those possibilities.
That's good. So let's say someone lands this job and loves it. What are some potential career paths for housing support workers?
Well, the possibilities are quite diverse, actually. You could become a team leader, supervising a group of support workers. You could move into a management position, overseeing programs or services. Or you could specialize in a particular area, such as working with homeless youth or veterans.
And what about opportunities for professional development? Are there certifications or specialized training programs that can help advance a career in this field?
Absolutely. Think about areas like crisis intervention, mental health first aid, or certifications in specialized areas like geriatric care or substance abuse counseling. Those additional qualifications can open up new opportunities and demonstrate your commitment to continuous learning.
So it's about thinking long-term and exploring ways to build a fulfilling and impactful career. Now, before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, I want to touch on something that stood out to me in RoleCatcher's Career Guide: the importance of understanding the unique needs of different populations.
That's a crucial point. Housing support workers interact with a diverse range of individuals, each facing unique challenges and requiring tailored support. Working with a senior citizen facing eviction will require a different approach than supporting a young person transitioning out of foster care.
So how can someone preparing for an interview demonstrate that understanding of diverse needs?
Think about the specific populations you're most passionate about working with and reflect on their unique challenges. What specialized knowledge or skills might you need to be effective in those roles? What are some culturally sensitive approaches you might consider? Demonstrating that awareness during the interview shows a genuine commitment to client-centered care.
So it's about going beyond the general interview prep and really thinking about how to tailor your approach to the specific populations you'll be serving.
Exactly. And that genuine passion for serving those diverse needs will shine through during the interview.
Okay, so we've really dug deep into what it takes to ace that housing support worker interview.
Yeah, we've talked about everything from those common questions you'll get to the strategies you can use to give really impactful answers, and of course how RoleCatcher's AI can give you that extra edge in your prep.
We've also touched on some of the exciting career paths and development opportunities you can find in this field.
So let's bring it all together now and give our listeners some key takeaways to remember.
What are some of the most important things to keep in mind as they get ready for that interview?
Well, first and foremost, let that passion and empathy shine through. This is a field where your genuine desire to help others really makes a difference.
It's about so much more than just checking off boxes on a job application. It's about conveying that heartfelt commitment to making a positive impact on people's lives.
Exactly, and don't underestimate the power of storytelling either. Weaving in those personal anecdotes brings your experiences to life and helps the interviewers connect with you on a deeper level.
So it's about showcasing your skills and qualities through those memorable stories. Stories that highlight your problem-solving abilities, your advocacy efforts, and that dedication to providing client-centered care.
Right, and remember to use the resources that are out there. RoleCatcher's AI-powered platform can be a game changer for refining your answers, tailoring your approach, and gaining insights into those specific job roles.
It's like having a personalized coach in your pocket, helping you put your best foot forward.
Exactly. And finally, remember that this is just the beginning of a really incredible journey. The field of housing support offers so many different paths for growth, specialization, and continuous learning.
So as you prepare for this interview, think beyond just landing the job. Consider the long-term possibilities, the specialized areas you might want to explore, and the impact you want to make throughout your career.
Here's a final thought to leave you with. Housing is about so much more than just bricks and mortar.
It's about providing individuals and families with a foundation for stability, security, and belonging.
As you step into this role, you're not just helping people find a place to live, you're empowering them to build a brighter future.
So good luck out there, and remember, that passion and dedication you bring to this work truly does matter.